Well, NFL free agency is here, and overreactions are everywhere. Vikings add Kyler Murray. Does that mean J.J. McCarthy is done? Not so fast. Falcons signed Tua Tagovailoa. Michael Penix Jr. might still be the starter when healthy. Steelers, their streak of winning seasons could finally end without a real quarterback solution. Kenneth Walker III signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Fantasy hype is real, but history says don't overvalue him. A.J. Brown and Max Crosby didn't move. The trade market isn't over. And the Rams, L.A., made key upgrades and looks ready to compete for a Super Bowl again. Free agency is fun, but separating the hype from reality is where smart takes live. This is the time where we talk overreactions to the NFL free agent period and some of the trades that have already happened. And let's start with some quarterback shakeups as the Vikings have signed Kyler Murray. J.J. McCarthy's future is now uncertain, but the Vikings not ready to give up yet. Falcons signed Tua Tagovailoa. Michael Penix Jr. is recovering from an ACL, likely still a starter when healthy. And right now, is this a quarterback shakeup in any of these places? Or is this just a giant overreaction? For me, I find it to be an overreaction. I think a lot of teams are doing their due diligence right now.
Yeah, I believe so as well. The Kyler Murray thing, I think, has a little bit more ability to stand because of the trade. But, I mean, you've also got a trade for Justin Fields that happened this morning, too. So there are a bunch of quarterbacks moving around. Not to say that Justin Fields is going to challenge Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, but it is, I think, a little bit of an overreaction that these are quarterback shakeups and that McCarthy and Penix are out of a job.
What about Justin Fields getting traded to the Chiefs? Mahomes? He's coming off an injury. I think it's a good move for Kansas City to have a good backup. Somebody's got to take the snaps during the offseason while he recovers.
Exactly. Yep.
Pittsburgh Steelers are kind of facing reality. It's their first losing season since 2003 is possible after Mike Tomlin retires. They added Michael Pittman Jr. and Jamal Dean and Rico Dowdle. They lost Kenneth Gainwell and Isaac Samalo. No quarterback solution yet. And Aaron Rodgers' return uncertain as age concerns are very real. I don't think the Steelers facing reality is an overreaction. I think they're honestly facing a reality of not being good in the near future. And it could be a couple of years of this rebuild or even as disastrous as a decade if they don't get their quarterback situation settled.
Yeah, because Aaron Rodgers is not your long-term future. And even when you've had guys like Mason Rudolph, those have been injuries that you've been waiting for someone else to come back. So I would be very concerned if I were a Pittsburgh Steelers fan about the direction of the future of this team. Now, you do have a new head coach coming in, might change it a little bit. A lot of people in Pittsburgh maybe feel that it's change of scenery, new voice in there, could possibly change things, but this could be a very, very dark time for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think so too. Be careful what you wish for, Pittsburgh, and get rid of Mike Tomlin. I don't necessarily think you're going to have the quick turnaround as you might think you're going to get. Kenneth Walker III, he wins the Super Bowl MVP with Seattle, and he's now in the Chiefs' backfield. Super Bowl MVP, signed with KC, expected heavy workload. History of injuries, plus Andy Reid's pass-heavy system suggests he won't dominate as a fantasy running back one. I honestly, I might disagree with the overreactions. I just, from a fantasy standpoint, I don't think it's that great of a pickup if you are going to try to pick him up in fantasy football. From a Chiefs backfield perspective, I think it does change the dynamic a little bit for this offense.
Yeah, it certainly does. And it'll also allow Kansas City to kind of keep Patrick Mahomes in the backfield, not have him running for his life. You'd be able to hand the ball off a little bit more with a guy like Kenneth Walker. And what you saw out of him in the Super Bowl is that he is a guy who does not mind taking the hits, getting a bunch of work out. So I would be very surprised if Kansas City doesn't find a way to actively use him, if not just as an effort to try to save Patrick Mahomes a little bit of grief.
There's been some trade target stalemates, and the most notable players that we thought were going to be traded, one of them actually got traded for a little bit, but A.J. Brown for the Eagles and Max Crosby for the Raiders remain on their current teams after failed early trade talks. Teams may pursue trades closer to June or after the draft, but I don't necessarily know if this is a missed window yet because there's still a long time for these two players to get traded. So I think it's an overreaction thinking these players are going to stay on their teams come August.
I mean, we're about a month and a half away from the draft.
Right.
So, I mean,
just everybody's main focus right now.
Yeah, there's still a lot of time. And now those draft picks do become a little bit less valuable after the draft because your picks have already been made. You don't know who's going to be what. But yeah, I mean, Max Crosby surprised me a little bit. The fact he got traded and then it got rescinded. Of course, we had our thoughts about that last week, but I don't think it's a missed window. I think we're still very, very young in the NFL offseason to be able to say that they've missed a window like that.
Let's get to the Rams real quick and their Super Bowl outlook. I mean, they added some very talented players so far in this free agency period. Rams have added Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson. Super Bowl window remains open with Matthew Stafford. Division competition is stiff with Seattle and San Francisco. You know what? I don't think this is an overreaction that they have a new Super Bowl outlook. I mean, I think LA is built to compete at the top, and with minimal roster losses and key upgrades made, this Rams team is going to give it a go again in 2026.
Yeah, they were a game away from making it last year, and they've upgraded from where they were. So yeah, I would say that the Super Bowl is a very realistic opportunity and a realistic option and goal for the Rams going into next season for sure.
Free agents frenzy, fun, but many of the big moves I think are a little overhyped at this point in the year. I think the Steelers are going to be in trouble right now unless they find some sustained success at quarterback. Rams look like the model for measured improvements, maximizing their window while avoiding overpaying for marquee names. Fantasy hype versus real-world impact often diverges, and we're going to look at that with the Kenneth Walker III move for Kansas City. Longer update this week on the NFL, but a lot to get to with free agency.